Science. Does science not come up with something every week that you just can't believe? Now some scientists are saying that atheists do not actually exist. Believe it or not. I thought I was sitting here with one, but apparently not. Let's look at some info. Cognitive scientists are becoming increasingly aware that a metaphysical outlook may be so deeply ingrained in human thought processes that it cannot be expunged. Jaclyn, I'm going to have you clean that up for us in a minute. Some scientists are claiming that atheism is psychologically impossible because of the way humans think. We've got a little more. They point to studies showing that even people who claim to be committed atheists tacitly hold religious beliefs, such as the existence of an immortal soul. Scientists say we are born believers, not atheists. Humans are pattern seekers from birth with a belief in karma or cosmic justice as our default setting. I've brought my favorite atheist here, and her head is in her hands.
So much.
Take it away, atheist. You don't exist.
I mean, how am I even here right now? I don't know. It's a miracle.
It's a true miracle.
Whenever I was reading this article, I noticed like one of the very first things it said, in quotes, "Scientists discover atheists don't exist." I was like, really? Oh, wow, that's an interesting fact. Yeah. I wonder what tests they did for that. But I mean, this is just like, I've heard this so many times. You can't really be an atheist. There's got to be something deep down inside that tells you there's a God. And I hear it from atheists too. Like, they don't believe that anyone can really be a Christian. Like, deep down, you know it's all bullshit, right?
Right.
You know, like,
so it works on both sides.
So frustrating to hear that. It's like, why can't people just accept that certain people have certain beliefs? I don't. You know, some people do, and I'm never like, well, deep down, you obviously don't really believe it. I'm sure they do, you know. And in the same way, some people just don't believe in God. And I understand what they're saying about the evolutionary, you know, benefit, because, you know, this goes back to the whole, like, if you hear a noise in the woods, you know, do you run from it or do you think, oh, there's nothing there? You know, it's beneficial to assume that there is something there, because if there were, obviously, you would be killed or eaten or whatever, and then, you know, you wouldn't be able to survive and reproduce, and, you know, survival of the fittest and therefore. So, I mean, I get it, but that mentality can be overcome, you know, with science, when we actually have facts and things, you know, that we can look to and understand how things work instead of just assuming.
Yeah. Is there anything science can do that would prove these heathens like her that God exists? Do you think science could ever prove to her?
You know what? This whole topic literally makes me want to smash my face into this table because I can't wrap my head. I'm like, I feel crazy thinking about it because
it's a lot to think about,
well, because it's so like, I mean, first of all, it's physically, it's impossible to say that it's impossible to be born like this, you know, because we don't know, because you're influenced from birth, and it's all about influence and what you've been, you know, raised to believe, and nature, nurture, things that affect you. This study seems like it is more westernized, like the people that were putting it together are from like a Western culture. Did they go to like tribal Africa and see, or different things, where different aspects and corners of the world where, you know, there's different possibilities of how people are affected by their surroundings? That's what I'm curious about, because this just seems like those specific people can't wrap their heads around it, like you said.
So it seems to me that the main push that they're saying here is what I'm sure you hear all the time, that there are no atheists in a foxhole. That seems to be what they're saying, that there's some evolutionary purpose why at the end of the day, you know, if you know that this is it, you would force yourself to believe or something. You must hear that constantly, right? That at the end of the day, when it's over for you and you're in your last moments, you're going to accept what is inevitable or something.
That's so frustrating. And it's so rude, you know, and it's such an insult, because it's pretty much saying everything that you may think is important, especially in my case, this is what I do, and people have said it to me. So when they say that to me, they're pretty much saying you aren't smart enough to actually believe what your convictions. You actually can't stand behind those things, and at the end of the day, I'm sure you would flop because you can't really believe it, because your thoughts are so,
and there's no way they
so
can
idiotic.
prove that.
That's the thing. There's no way to prove any of this. It's like if a tree falls in the woods, it doesn't make any noise. You know, like it's impossible to prove any of this.
Do atheists
ever
come back? Yeah, no, it must be totally maddening. But do atheists ever come back and say, like, it seems to me that you could just as easily say to a religious person, well, maybe at the end, when you're laying there in your last moments, you've spent your whole life being religious, believing this certain set of beliefs, and as you whatever happens at the end, that we obviously none of us know and there's no proof of any of it, that maybe you'll realize it was all bullshit.
You're like, shit.
You're like, shit, I fucked up. I should have had pork. You know, like, really, like, isn't that, like, do you ever use that argument with them? Like,
no, I don't, because it's such a stupid, I have so much, else I can say that's so much stronger. Why would I, waste it on argument on something?
I was going to the masses.
I mean, I'm not going to stoop, but like at the same time, like I get it why people say that to a degree, just because like whenever you are sick or if you're in your last moments, positivity sometimes can help people last a little bit longer, but for me and for a lot of atheists, like you can have that without religion. It is possible.
Yeah, so that actually is a perfect segue to my next question. Do you believe in like horoscopes and karma and all that kind of stuff? So that some of the stuff that has some sort of, like a horoscope has some sort of scientific something or other, right? Is there
No.
Like something because of the sun and the moon and the thing with the
sun and the moon
and that dial and what about that thing?
All
is that not? And why I'm going on Yahoo every day checking my horoscope? It's nothing.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, I guess I'll have to cross that off. Are you an atheist?
No, I don't know what I am really. I just kind of float through life with my own beliefs. I do enjoy reading
But then at the end,
I know. What am I gonna do? I enjoy a good horoscope now and again, mainly because I don't want to base my decisions off of the results of my actions off of decisions I've made.
Yeah.
I like to blame it on other things.
I like that.
That's the thing. I really like to displace blame in my life, so I blame it on horoscopes, a higher power, my wife, things like that.
The big three.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, to me, I believe in the force. I've said this 1,000 times. I believe there's something happening, and it can either sort of be used for good or sort of be used for bad. Does that even drive you crazy when someone says something like that?
I mean, honestly, I'm not that kind of person where I'm offended at every little thing.
Yeah.
I don't really care. But if you ask me if I believe in it, I don't.
Yeah. But you do believe I'm a Jedi.
That's true.
That, of course, clearly.
Well, I think we've really solved this thing.